What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing Ravens content every single day. If you want to save that daily Ravens content, make sure the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well if you want to get notified every single time I upload a brand new video. In this video today, going to be talking about my top 5 players for the Ravens to draft in the first round. This is coming out about an hour before the draft starts, so let me know your thoughts. And if the Ravens have already drafted a player, let me know your thoughts on the pick that they made. But I'll be putting out the reaction video tonight as soon as the pick gets announced. Joshua and I are already recording while the pick is getting announced. So you do get our live reaction, and then we upload. It's typically about 5-7 minutes. So make sure to come through to that. We're giving away a jersey for every player that the Ravens do end up selecting in this year's draft. So just comment on those videos. Once the players' jerseys are available for sale on the team website, we'll be doing the giveaway. We'll look at and randomize all the comments in those videos, giving away one for each player. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about the top 5 players that I want the Ravens to target in the first round. And this is reasonable players, okay? Now, if you don't think one of these players is reasonable, I'm sorry. I've just seen all of these players be available, at least somewhat consistently for the Ravens to draft. But if you say, hey, I don't think this guy's going to be available, that's totally fine. But the last 2 years, my number one guy for the Ravens to draft that's been available on my big board, the Ravens have gotten. So, hoping to keep that streak alive. Let me know your top 5s of players that you want the Ravens to target in the first round. And let me know players you don't want them to target. If you think, hey, this guy sucks, don't target him, let me know. I want to talk about it. But at number 1, my number 1 player for the Ravens to draft, you guys know it. If you've watched any of my videos, it's Joey Porter Jr. Joey Porter Jr. is my number 1 cornerback in this class. He is forcing incompletions with physicality. He's not the fastest player in the NFL, but the NFL, you can still be elite and not be top speed all the time. Look at Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey didn't run 4.3. He didn't run 4.2. He's one of the best cornerbacks. Why? Because he's physical and he gets the ball out. Joey Porter Jr. in college was the best cornerback in terms of knockout percentage all year. I think it was like 35%. He had a pass deflection or something like that. It was insane how good he was at forcing incompletions when the ball was thrown his way. He's not going to get you a ton of picks, but I'm fine with that because he's so good at being physical, tackling, and doing the things that the Ravens defense wants to be able to do. Because if you have Marlon Humphrey, if you have Joey Porter Jr. locking down the outside, and then you have Roquan Smith roaming the middle, and then ball hawk safeties and Kyle Hamilton, Geno Stone, and Marcus Williams, you're going to be chilling. You're going to be fine. You don't need a cornerback that goes out and, gets you a ton of interceptions. Now, I may talk about some of those guys later, but my number 1 guy is Joey Porter Jr. My number 2 guy is a wide receiver. Now, this is obviously with the thought of, as the Ravens stand right now at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Lamar Jackson signed as the quarterback. That's all I want to say if Hopkins gets traded. The wide receivers, don't draft him. Get rid of the wide receivers if that happens. But I'm going with Jackson Smith-Njigba. Now, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a very safe option, but he is somebody that can play inside and outside. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. And I think that, Odell Beckham Jr., when you look at his abilities and how long he's going to be here, I think Jackson Smith initially can start off kind of playing that number 3 wide receiver role. He could very easily be a number 2 and number 1 wide receiver in the NFL. Now, I don't necessarily see him as a top 5, wide receiver in the NFL down the line. That's not kind of the ceiling I see for him, but I see just hey, this guy could just be a very solid wide receiver 1 for his career. And we have Bateman next to him. It would be 2 very good route runners for the next few seasons that have good hands. And Jackson Smith-Njigba was the best wide receiver on his team. The way that we talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. right now is how people were talking about Jackson Smith-Njigba after the 2021 NFL season. And that was when the Ohio State Buckeyes had Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson. If you didn't know, both of them put up 1,000-yard seasons and were number 1 and number 2 in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. And I believe it was Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, I can't remember which one, said that he was the best wide receiver on that team. He was the number 1. And they came in and were both number 1 wide receivers in the NFL. Jackson Smith had a year to get better. I think he can just be a very solid wide receiver in the NFL. And I think he would fit pretty well with what the Ravens are trying to do down the line. Now, this year, he's not going to be crazy impactful. I think he could have a really good rookie year. But for the Ravens, I think he'd be the number 3. I mean, if he comes out, he becomes the number 2 or number 1. So be it. That's even better. But I am pretty high on Jackson Smith-Njigba for the Ravens. Number 3, I have another wide receiver. It's Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, I see a lot of comps for him. The best one is by far Devontae Smith. Jordan Addison is very small. He's very skinny. However, he's a route runner. He's a technician. And a lot of people are going to look at that combine. They're going to be afraid. Same with Jackson Smith-Njigba. But Jordan Addison was injured. It was clear that he was nursing an injury. And I think that, when he's healthy, he's probably the best wide receiver in this class. He's the reason that Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round. He's the reason Caleb Williams won the Heisman. Everywhere that this guy has gone, his quarterback has just been incredible. Incredible. Because he's been the guy. You can always give it to Jordan Addison. He can make you a big play. He can just make the right catch. He can get you that first down. I think he needs to bulk up a little bit, and I think he can. But the Ravens are not afraid of drafting these skinny wide receivers, and I think he'll be available at 22, and I think the Ravens can absolutely snag him and turn him into, one of those really good route-running wide receivers that they can have Todd Monken, because Todd Monken, the last time he was in the NFL, was coaching Odell and Jarvis. Guys that aren't crazy speed, but they're just like technical route runners. And Jordan Addison's a heck of a lot more athletic than Jarvis Landry, and Odell is Odell. So I think that kind of trio of Odell, Jordan Addison, and Rashad Bateman would be very good this year. And I think down the line, Jordan Addison, I think, has one of the highest ceilings of wide receiver in this draft. I would say he's the second highest ceiling in this draft class. I think that the highest ceiling is Quentin Johnston, but he is the lowest floor of the potential first-round wide receivers. So love Jordan Addison, would love for the Ravens to target him. Next up, I've got a cornerback. I've got Emmanuel Forbes. If you guys were in the live stream last night, I was watching a little bit more today. I like Emmanuel Forbes a titch more than Cam Smith. Cam Smith is next on the list. Don't worry, I'll talk about him. But Emmanuel Forbes is a ball hawk. If the Ravens decide, or if Joey Porter Jr. is not available, and they want to get a ball hawk, and they want to get somebody to replicate Marcus Peters, Emmanuel Forbes is that guy. 6 interceptions last year. He is explosive. He played in the SEC, which I think is a big deal when it comes to cornerbacks, because there are very good wide receivers in the SEC. He wasn't playing on Alabama. He wasn't playing on Georgia. He was going up against all of those guys, really good wide receivers, and he was able to be consistently dominant. And if you're looking for somebody that has that speed, has that athleticism, that's him. He's very skinny. He's like 165 pounds, but he ran 4.3. He ran, I believe, the exact same 40 time as Banks. Deontay Banks out of, you guys know, Maryland. But I think that his upside, I think his production, I think he's a better player right now than Banks. And I think what he does, that Banks does, Forbes does it better. And I think that his athleticism, his instincts are very good. And if the Ravens want to do that cornerback in the first round, he is that guy. Now, if they want to do it later rounds, I got a guy, his name's Clark Phillips. I think he's a stud. But I really like Emmanuel Forbes in this draft. And I've actually been seeing people say, and reports say that, some teams are expecting him to go top 18. I don't necessarily think that. And most of the time I see him falling in the 20s, maybe late 20s. But I wouldn't be upset if we took him at 22. I think we could maybe trade back a little bit and get him. But my 5th guy is Cam Smith. I've been talking about this guy forever. He was my mock draft guy on Mock Draft Monday. Cam Smith was available almost every single time. I took him almost every single time. You guys probably got tired of hearing me talk about it. But let's get into it. This guy is aggressive. That's what he is. He reminds me of Marcus Peters in that sense. He doesn't have the ball skills of Marcus Peters, but he's going to attack the ball. He's going to try and punch it out. If you are running by him with the football in his hands, he is going to try and lay you out. He is not afraid to tackle. He sometimes overcommits, over-pursues because he's so aggressive in the tackling game, but he is going to be physical and try and assert his will against these opposing wide receivers, similar to Marlon Humphrey, similar to Marcus Peters. And I think he can bring that kind of dog mentality, again, from the SEC that we haven't been seeing in, recent years out of Marcus Peters, out of the Ravens secondary, out of the Ravens defense. And we don't have that guy that's just going to constantly go, 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 go. Cam Smith could be that dude. And especially because he doesn't have to come in and be a number 1. Being a number 2 would help him a lot. And I think he could just, develop into just an elite cornerback in the NFL. Those are my top 5. Joey Porter, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jordan Addison, Emmanuel Forbes, and Cam Smith. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts, your opinions on my top 5. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for daily Ravens content. I'll be back later tonight with more Ravens videos talking about the Ravens update, and tomorrow I'll have videos about players to target in day 2, round 3 guys and things like that. So going to be a lot of fun. Thank you all so much. I will see all of you again later tonight when hopefully Joey Porter Jr. is drafted by the Ravens.